Do you know, was this the approved site plan for this project? From where it is? I think this is it, but it's a smaller version. It was just, do I need to have the original in here right now? No. Okay. All right.
What was on the current application is small drawings? You have the large one?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Did we get large drawings?
Yeah, but we did.
You went all the way through with those small drawings.
Okay. And one on the agenda is 10 Pioneer Street. This is an application to amend a pre-approved site plan. The applicant wishes to add a pergola.
I've never heard of that word before.
Never heard of pergola?
Never heard of pergola.
You don't
I've heard
want
of purgatory. Not pergola. It's like a fence and it's shady fence or something, whatever.
Well, I've usually seen them as overheads, not with a structure holding them up. Like this one.
Yeah, I saw the pictures, you know, it's like a, I don't know. I guess it has to have a name of some sort.
Do we, I'm able to see it on here, do we have the height?
Yes.
I would say 8 feet.
Found on the second page, the third would be the third page. It says that it is 8 feet above grade. Yep.
Yeah, the most important detail was sort of hard to find, but yeah, how high it was hard to find, but it is
Even on the second page, there's in the bottom left-hand corner, it shows that it's 8 feet to the bottom of that rafter, and then the rafter adds another 8 inches in elevation at the high point.
So the rafter's higher than
8 feet 8 inches after you add the rafter on the high point, because there's a pitch to that. The main structure of it is
faintly written right there, 8 feet.
That was part of the being so. So it could be high.
Have they received a height variance?
I believe that the height is measured to the halfway pitch on the roof, correct? They've no height variance was requested.
Okay. I'm just looking at the definition of yard.
Mhm.
And the required open space unoccupied and unobstructed by any structure or portion of the structure. 48 inches above the general ground level of the gradient, not upward in the front yard. I don't know, do you know of any other section that would control the height?
So for looking at a requirement for a fence, it would be the 96 inches with the acquiescence of the neighbor and the okay from the zoning official. This is not in the setback.
They could build a house there if they wanted to, if we,
It's my understanding they could be
Yeah,
applying to add a 2-story addition onto the back of their house if they wished to.
since that.
It's on a concrete footing.
Okay. Alright.
Because it's within the building area, the approved, well, it's not within the setbacks, the yard setback, so they could build anything there, but it's because
It's not a-
flood. And the waterfront district that was there, they needs to require.
That's my understanding of it.
So you're all right with the height?
I'm sorry?
Are you all right with the height?
Yeah, I mean, it's legal. My first concern was what it's gonna block the neighbor's view, but that's tough, you know, I mean, the person could have built a 2-story and made a bigger 2-story house there, so.
Yeah, we have no authority.
No, that's right, you know, I mean, I'm sure the neighbors are, but, you know, that's just. That's the law, you know.
All
You
right,
don't have to put that in the minutes,
No.
you know, but I mean, but if they wanted to do such a thing in the yard, in the side yard, put an 8-foot fence, then the neighbor would have a reason to be complaining.
All right. We have to take care of Sika first. This went to HPAR, which does not want to deal with Sika.
They were not prepared to at that meeting.
Okay.
That is the fact. And once I understand it better, I can be a better advocate.
Okay. Before an action can be taken by a board, we have to review the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which has different requirements based on what's being done. And there are, in essence, 3 types of action. One is type 1 action, which requires review. Type 2 action, which requires no review. And an unlisted action, which is treated as a type 1 action. So roundabout. Onto the regulations. 6 NYCRR section 617.5 C 12. This is type 2 actions. The following actions are not subject to review. One is part construction, expansion, or replacement of minor accessory pertinent residential structures, including garages, carports, patios, decks, swimming pools, tennis courts, satellite dishes, fences, barns, storage sheds, or other buildings not changing land use or density. So I believe the permit would fit into that definition.
Since pergola was not in that listing there, right?
Well, it's not specifically,
But this is much like a fence, in my view.
yeah,
And if we,
This is included, so it's not,
so fence requires,
or principle does not require.
does not
The,
require.
the items I read require no action.
Right, so if we consider a pergola to be just a fancy name for a type of fence,
Mhm,
then we don't require any action.
yes. Mhm. So,
So do we,
So-
but how do we determine that a pergola is just another type of fancy word for a
well, it's not
funny looking
exactly-
fence?
It did. This is construction, expansion, or placement of minor accessory or permanent residential structures, including.
Oh, because
So
it's not,
if we go for the first section, it is, you know, a minor accessory.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
it would be.
You know, so I move that we declare the application of type 2 action under secret.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Um,
Okay, unanimous, thank you. Under the zoning law, section 300-47, an amendment does not require a public hearing, but if the board feels one is required, we could order one. I personally don't think it's required under this. Does anyone have any different feeling?
I get. I don't, I think to require a public hearing on this is sort of, I don't think it's necessary. If, for example, we had a letter from the neighbor or some other groups of people complaining, maybe then you could have a hearing, but there's been no,
No.
no, but again, does the neighbor know that this is being proposed? Probably not.
If there's a complaint concerning blocking the view, that's something we have no jurisdiction over anyway.
Right.
So to have a public hearing over something we can't do anything about.
Now, there's a patio there too, right? So it doesn't disturb, it's not gonna change the nature of the ground, being a flood district, water flow or, drainage or anything like that. So how does it affect the environment? I don't know. Provides a little shade, but it's shading a patio. It's not,
Is there any, does anybody think there should be a public hearing?
I don't think so.
Okay. There's no need for it. Is there any discussion about?
Also, because it's also in the backyard too, that's another reason why, it's not pretty much gonna be out of sight.
This street view.
That, well, that's just, that's, it's the same picture.
You'll be able to just catch a glimpse of it. But that's pretty,
It was
it's fairly long.
removed from my packet as being misleading by the CEO, under the authority of CEO, removed from my packet.
Everybody thinks it's pointing to the wire trellis work
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
especially, it didn't show up very well in the black and white copy.
Okay.
But there will be a peekaboo view of it there, but again, I don't know if we have any say about that whatsoever.
I don't think so. Any other discussion about this?
No,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Right, it's unanimous. I'm going to postpone discussion of the minutes of the June meeting until we have at least 2 members present who are at the meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't.
I know, I'm the only person
Right, okay,
currently in attendance, and I'd like to have at least 2 here
okay.
to discuss it.
Of
So
course.
put that off to the next meeting. Is there anything else anybody wants to raise? Mr. Bud?
Signage. It seems the way the village is loosened up on signage enforcement of outside of around stores and things. Now downtown, has there been a loosening up of the sidewalks and so forth of what you can do for, because of promoting commerce and so forth? Or, you know, for example, I've seen some off-site signs promoting, and I can't remember where I saw one, but somebody was advertising something that was $3 away, you know, and it wasn't a yard sale or something, but it was a commercial thing, you know.
If you see that, let Jackson know.
I pull that stuff.
Okay.
I do my best to, but it often is reliant on complaints.
Yeah,
I keep my eyes out and I drive around.
okay, well, I'm a big complainer, so.
Welcome, I'm all ears.
My biggest complaint, though, doesn't affect you, it's the streets committee, it's that stop sign at the corner of West Beaver and Chestnut Street, which Moravito keeps putting out over the curb line into the street, you know, and so it creates a traffic hazard there.
The stop sign that's in the bucket type.
Yeah, the one, and
Yeah.
it, you know, every other stop sign in the village is well away from the driving area of the street, you know, it's a few feet from the curb in, you know, toward the line. This one is over the curb, well, if you've seen it, in the street, and, you know,
It's kind of a
you
road.
always wonder
stop
whether
sign.
you're gonna
Yeah.
need to scrape the front right fender of your car, if somebody's coming the other way, turning in there, trying to get out there, but I complain.
Refer to the yield to pedestrian signs? I'm not sure what stop sign.
It's in a big barrel, concrete, but it's heavy, it's like concrete, because they used to have a hard time, was kept getting hit and knocked over. But every time the gasoline delivery truck comes in there, they gotta move it to get the truck in to empty the tanks. And then they put it back in the street instead of, you know, so I've been on Cindy a lot for this. And so, you know, the streets as well of this thing, so. But if you want complaints, you know, you're looking for complaints, complaints. Okay.
On Main Street, there has, during COVID, been a general loosening with regards to restaurant use of the sidewalks and things like that. And I think this is the last year that we're in the midst of what's basically kind of a special vending event, but it's just to encourage.
What was I saw in the minutes, there was a discussion of signage in windows.
Mhm.
And if it's inside the window, you know, there's really nothing you can do about that.
Yep.
Unless it's a lit sign and it's gotta be fully lit. But
Right.
what was that? It sounded like in the minutes that this was gonna be discussed further or looked at or reviewed or whatever. What was the ultimate decision or thoughts on that? I guess that was my question, because it seemed to be left up in the air in the minutes.
One of the reasons I went to somebody else.
Well,
Here, this is the meeting,
it was down at the bottom of the page, you know, it was a comment. Because that was really something we looked at really hard, and there was no way to resolve stuff inside the glass. How far inside the glass? People, you know, put stuff in windows and put little, all sorts of, it was just impossible to regulate. It would have been impossible to enforce.
unless we meant the sign law.
I'm sorry.
Unless we meant the sign law.
Yeah, well, but when we looked at it, if we tried to do something, it'd be unenforceable probably. There'd be so much printed material inside like a Price Chopper, in every store, with, advertising of, discounts or price off or whatever, it would have been just, it was just, we looked at it and there was just nothing we felt that the village could do anything about that behind the glass. We even talked about, what about people painting, on the glass and stuff? I think we went to the library and all that, but just throw up our hands, nothing we can do about that. And that was our view, that when we did it years ago. So anyway, just let you know, we Charlie Hill and I really struggled with it, but there's nothing we could do. And if you want to do anything, I mean, again, it's, we even looked at percentage of glass covered and security, because, basically the front of CVS was covered by a sign, all those big windows were covered with signage on the inside, and we thought about, I think the rationale was that most storekeepers will limit the amount of coverage of their windows because they want people to see inside the store, because is it inviting? Do I want to go in to do some shopping? But if it's like a door and everything else is covered up, it's kind of like a speakeasy or pornographic sale, and people just feel they just don't want to go in. So there's a real psychological rationale for people in business to leave a lot of their window free of clutter so people can look in and see what it looks like before they enter into that unknown space. And I think that's happened that way. I think there's been limitations on that. So.
There's no other business. We'll adjourn the meeting at 4:49. Or sorry, 4:54.
Okay.
Thanks for showing up. We'll have some signs and such next time around. They were trying to get it together this time, but they couldn't do it, so. Yeah, it looks like we have guidelines for window and glass door signs, but signs on storefront windows and glass doors in the business and commercial district are exempt from any application, approval, or permit requirements.
Yeah.
And then we have guidelines of 25%, a 25%
Yes,
suggestion.
that was
How kind.
that was our guideline. Well, that was a. I hope you weren't bored to death on this meeting.
I actually have to do a hard copy of it.